evening and welcome to the Beyond the Front Page program for the fall 28 semester here at Cayuga Community College and broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon, Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, better known as ARMA, as well as WIN 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. Last month, the Cayuga County Convention and Visitors Bureau announced that Meigs VANEK, who has headed local tourism efforts for more than 2 decades, would be stepping down as their executive director later this year. There is little debate that Ms. VANEK has shaped the way Cayuga County and its businesses and the public view tourism, putting her heart and soul in that work, bringing a new level of professionalism to local efforts and using research-based planning to promote Cayuga County not only in the region but throughout the nation. Meigs VANEK is joining us in the studio along with her board chair, Jessica CANTU, who is with the Hilton Garden Inn as its sales manager, to talk about Ms. VANEK's tenure, where tourism stands locally along the way, what the economic impact has been, and how they will search for her replacement, if you are even replaceable. So, with that, welcome and congratulations on your news.
Thank you.
So, why are you stepping down?
Everyone says that you kind of know when it's time, and I think we're at a really great turning point. And I'd like some time where I could have a little bit more flexibility. I plan to do some freelance work. I have a lot of contacts in the tourism industry, so I'm not totally going to do nothing. But it's time that I can, travel and be a tourist myself.
And you like to travel?
I love to travel.
Okay.
So this will give me
I know some of your friends, and they're all very happy you're retiring.
Yes, I'll have plenty of people to play with.
So have you decided when you'll be leaving?
The goal is towards the end of the year, but we don't have an exact date. I'm not moving away, so I'm really flexible about when that would be. We've started the process to find a replacement, but I'm willing to stay on till that person's selected and do a little bit of training, because even if they have a lot of tourism experience, every tourism office is slightly different, has slightly different programs, and I'm happy to kind of clue them in on those things.
With that transition.
Absolutely, and the board would like me to do that.
And I know you sit on a lot of other boards, United Way, and but a lot of tourism-oriented boards. Will you stay on some of those?
No, most of those are associated with being the TPA, the Tourism Promotion Agency for the organization, for a tourism organization. So I will be stepping down from the New York State Travel Industry Association, the Regional Council. Those you really need to be employed in tourism.
Okay, but you're planning to keep a finger in that.
I do.
Okay. So does that mean we'll see you putting trips together if somebody wants to go?
No, probably not. No. The things that I will continue to do are more along the PR communications aspects.
So not leading somebody to go to Sicily or Ireland?
Oh, well, not to say. Okay. I might do that. Melina might need somebody, and I might just step up.
I know, member of our Board of Trustees does
yes,
that. So.
I have done that type of thing before. So who knows? But I think it's going to be more writing, press releases, communications, that type of thing.
And for those who don't know about the Visitors Bureau, you're a not-for-profit?
Correct.
And who are the representatives on the board? Where do they come from?
Oh, they come from all over. We have a county legislative representative. We, of course, have wineries represented, sweet treats like Strawberry Fields,
so
local
is it
museums.
Mainly people in the tourism industry, with the exception of obviously a government?
Yes.
You have a county legislature, because I'm assuming that's mandated by your bylaws.
Correct.
And who appoints everybody?
Well, we do have an HR committee, so we look out into the community when we have an opening and try to find someone that would fit.
So you self-appoint in the sense of self-sustaining. You
Correct.
don't have to have the county legislature come in and say these are members, because
not
they have
at
a contract with you for
Correct.
For that. Is the bed tax your major source of revenue for the operation?
That is the major source.
And roughly in a given year, I'm not asking you a lot of math questions, but do you have an idea of how much you get in bed tax?
In bed tax, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $550,000.
And that goes solely to your organ? No.
Yes, it does, but there is a percent that is kept by the county for administration of that, because they do the collection. So they keep 5%, 95% goes to the tourism office.
And that's everything that pays for you and your staff at the tourism office, and then a lot of promotions that go from there.
Absolutely, and it's used to match the I Love New York grant that we apply for every year.
Okay.
Because once you get that grant, which is in the $70,000 range, you have to match it dollar for dollar.
And what does I Love New York go to?
I Live in New York, they have a lot of rules and regulations, but it's promotions. So things like advertising, websites, going to travel shows, producing collateral. You cannot use it for any overheads, any staff that you might have. You can't use it for lights, electricity. It's promotion money.
So do you get other sources of revenue, or is the bed tax mainly it?
The bed tax is the primary source, but there are other smaller sources. For instance, we have a contract with the City of Auburn that we administer the historic sites promotion, which is, acting as admin for that. So that's a
Seward
contract.
House, Harriet Tubman, Willard Chapel, Cayuga Museum,
Auburn Public Theater is part of that, Fort Hill Cemetery, Schweinfurth, and we basically just do admin for them, get their ads placed when they need brochures done. We kind of guide that process. It's a small monthly fee that the tourism office is paid, so that's a little income there. And then we also have some cooperative programming on our website. You can purchase advertising, and that brings a little income in as well. But bed tax and I Love New York money are the two main sources.
So how large a staff do you have to administer all this?
We have a full-time staff of 3, and then occasionally we bring on part-timers. In the summer sometimes we might have a booth at, for instance, the Bontown Relay, when those people come in and we want to, instead of having the bike race, have them get tourism information and maps and things like that. And we sometimes use part-timers for that. So we have a couple part-timers.
Okay. And I guess turning to you, because this is an unfair question to her, how big a loss is VANEK to your office?
Immeasurable. It really is. I mean, it's going to be hard. I mean, she's a force.
So you talked about, I think you specifically were quoted in the Citizen last month when the story broke, and said you had a succession plan and you're going through a search, but what is the succession plan?
The succession plan truly is just laying out how the process goes. The board we all got together for a long extended meeting and put together with the aid of a facilitator, of course, someone who's done that and worked through HR.
So are you outsourcing the search, or are you conducting it yourself?
We are outsourcing.
Okay, so what will the consultant do, and what will your board do?
So the consultant right now is accepting, basically screening all of the applicants.
So is it online now? Can somebody
it is.
Okay, when can people apply to?
They can apply right now, and they would actually apply to, the email is HR@Cayuga Tourism, or
tourcayuga.com.
And how long is that search open for?
Until they find a replacement.
Okay, so
there's no specific end date.
And is this a local region? Well, I guess this is a national search in that case.
It is, yeah. It's been posted everywhere.
So I'm assuming you are not a civil service employee.
No.
So does the county have to approve whoever is picked?
No, they do not. But we do have a legislator that serves on our board, and I think the executive committee really wants him to meet the prospective candidate and feel comfortable with them. So it's not a rule or regulation, but out of courtesy, we will do that.
And who is your?
Joe DeForest.
Okay, from the southern part of the county.
Yes, he's from the King Ferry, Genoa area.
Okay. Was very involved at Wells.
Yes, very involved in Wells. Just a great guy, and we'll definitely want him to meet the person and be in approval so that he's comfortable.
So when do you hope to have somebody on board?
We're shooting for the beginning of December to have someone on board, at least have them hired. Don't really know when the actual start date would be, but...
Does that mean that you will have your board do interviews with them? Will they make the final interviews?
The search committee. There is a search committee. It is the executive committee.
Okay.
We will be conducting those interviews, and hopefully, well, that should start soon.
So you haven't seen the pool of candidates yet?
We have seen the first round of applicants that have passed through to us. And it's, I think, 5 at the moment. So, and phone interviews should be happening this week. Now, that's not to say that it's closed. Anyone can still apply, and please do.
So, what is your term? When are you from when to when?
Well, my term began last year. I think it was June of last year.
Okay, so
And
there'll be the new person will have you as chair for the first couple of months at least.
Oh, yes,
Unless
for sure.
you resign or something
Definitely.
like that. Okay. No,
Yes.
Well, no, I asked that because
Oh,
there's
sure.
always a transition.
Stability,
It's
yeah.
one thing to transition to new office and then have new board leadership.
Yeah.
Tends to be its own challenge.
Yes, correct.
So at this particular stage, what is the state of tourism?
So it's good. The most recent figures we have are from 2017. And these we get from the state. So we were at 101.65 million. So we were happy to go over that $100 million
So
visitor
that 100
spending.
million is what people spend on everything from food, lodging, and other. You can get
food,
into
lodging, retail, transportation,
That you can
second homes.
Can directly identify as tourism based.
Yes.
So what does it generate for you tax-wise? I mean, you talked about $500,000 for the bed tax, but separate from that
Right.
is you get sales tax. Some of this can be attached. If somebody stays at the Hilton Garden Inn,
Right.
Not that I've stayed at the Auburn Hilton Garden Inn because I've not been in trouble, you get a room tax, you get a bill, whatever Hilton or Marriott, whatever property you stay at.
Sure.
There is a bed tax on there, there's sales tax, there's
Right.
other.
Right.
What do you get, what do you figure number-wise?
Well, we're provided that information, and the tourism office does not get sales tax at all. So this is all money going to the county.
Now that it comes in, but how much does it generate?
7.38 million in local taxes and 5.59 million in state taxes.
And do you think that is a jump? Have they only been collecting these numbers since 2005?
That's as far back as I could find was 2005.
That's what I was looking. So
yeah.
since 2005, you've had a significant jump. This
Right.
includes the economic downturn in 8, 9.
And 9, right.
What are you up overall?
So I looked, and from 2005 to 2017, overall visitor spending was up 32%.
Which is a nice chunk.
Which is a nice investment,
So
I would say.
I'm going to only give you one more math question because
Oh,
we
no,
talked
I
about
hate
it.
these.
Well, no, this is the one you do like. You generate tax relief,
Correct, yes.
and there is a number you're proud
Yes.
of.
Yes.
So what's the tax relief number?
So the most current, and again, this is supplied to us by the state, is $418 per household. So that basically means if you didn't have tourism in Cayuga County, each household would pay that much more in taxes, property
Okay.
taxes.
Any idea how many people are employed roughly?
Employed, so direct is a little over 1,100, and then they have indirect, which is 1,649. So those are people that maybe they don't work at a hotel, but they might work at the company that supplies linens to the hotel. There's
Okay.
secondary.
But this is all, again, numbers that are put together by the state of New
But
York.
that's the
You're not
Department of Labor.
calculating in the back room
No.
what these numbers
Because I don't
are.
think that would be very believable if I just made these numbers up and gave them out.
But,
so-
but when you get the numbers, you do tout them
Yes.
to be transparent about that.
Yes.
So when you give me that 1,500 or 1,600 number, is that full-time workers or full-time equivalents?
They call it full-time equivalent.
Okay.
So it's,
And that's how we do it here at the college.
Yeah, yeah.
So
In the tourism industry, so many part-times and seasonal. So you can't, it would be very hard to do
I would just think
full-time.
wineries alone.
Yeah, yeah. But even, I don't know, the
Even
hotel
hotels.
business, I'm sure you've
That's
got
true.
more during banquet season, wedding season, that,
Very
it's
true.
all over.
And is the largest portion of your direct sales go to where?
How do we
Created
spend it?
it-
Oh,
created-
It's created from lodging.
Lodging, that's the biggest
Definitely.
chunk.
That's why, our mantra is always fill hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Because once we fill hotel rooms, people spend 3 times as much as if they just came for the day.
So your goal is extended stays. It is not just.
I don't care if they stay 1 night or 2 nights or 3, as long
they
as
gotta
they
stay
stay in
warm.
rooms.
Mhm.
They got to stay in rooms and fill them up.
And
You probably like longer term, so you don't have to
we
turn it
love
over so much. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
so is food second?
Let's see, food and beverage. So
Okay.
yes, food and beverage is second. Then retail would be next. Transportation, second homes is actually 16.94 million. That's a big number.
So I was surprised when I read that you'd been doing this for 21 years.
Yeah, me too. I just all of a sudden I'm
Well,
like,
because
wow.
I think I first met you when you were at Wells, and were you
Right.
working for Marriott at that
No, I had nothing to do with that. I did conference services there, and there was a Women's Leadership Institute, if you remember.
That's right, at Wells, okay.
So I did programming for the Women's Leadership Institute.
So with the 21 years there, which you've done at Wells with the women's, what's been the most gratifying part of the job?
Definitely the people that I meet. The people are amazing, especially the people in tourism. The majority of them do it because they're passionate about it. There's a few making a lot of money, but probably not the majority of them. They love the hospitality, they love the people, they're committed to the region and the area, and it's got to be about the people. That has been people I would never have met.
So in the work that you've done for Cayuga County Tourism, is there anything that you say is a high point of what you've done?
Well, I think the big change that came for us was back in 2007 when we did our first tourism marketing study. You remember Judy Randall coming in.
She's a great guest, by the way.
Yeah,
very
yes,
exciting.
yeah. We did
both
this with
came
Judy
on.
Randall.
So that was your first research. Is this the study that was funded by the Fred L. Emerson Foundation in part?
I believe it was helped out by that, yes.
So that was the first one where you used data that you'd collected to plan promotions, advertising, and everything else from there.
Absolutely.
And have you updated it since?
Oh, we've done it, I think we're into our third or fourth one right now.
How often do you update
Every
it?
5 years. And then the strategic plan that we're looking at, that comes out of the data. So we do a 5-year strategic plan every time we do the research.
And when's your next one up?
2020.
Okay. So I was saying, and I was saying this more before we started, for your chair's edification, there are a few organizations that put their strategic plan online and then update it with whether they've accomplished it or not, and if they're that gutsy to do that. And you have been blunt. In some things you've got them done, moving on. There's some stuff you are going to die trying when it comes to wayfinding.
Absolutely.
So you've been here about wayfinding. For the layperson, that is more signage, we would say. But wayfinding is what, as far as you're concerned?
Yes. So I don't even know how many years ago we had a study done to kind of look at the wayfinding in Cayuga County. And again, it came out of a research study saying, hey, we know GPS exists, but people still want signs, and we can't find our way. I mean, Judy Randall got lost on her way to Aurora because somebody at a hotel told her the wrong way, and it was all craziness. So we're like, we need to get wayfinding done. So we got the money together, we did a plan, we touted it around, everybody loved it. We never could get it funded. It's very expensive to get wayfinding done and to get somebody to guide it through, because working with DOT, you need to have some expertise there to get something through. So,
and it's not like they're not battling the state of New York and the federal
exactly,
government
they got
right
bigger
now.
things to think about.
So on the wayfinding, and I don't want to concentrate on this, but I do want to ask, is it, we all now carry these smart devices?
Right.
I would say that I was most likely, when you first brought this up, I mostly had a flip phone.
Probably, yeah.
And which didn't give me a whole lot. I most likely could have put one of those, put it on your dashboard, Mabel getting me from point A to point B.
Right.
Is it now much easier for people to get to point A to point B unless they don't know the name of the place they're going?
It is easier, but we still feel we need to connect the dots, and we could get people to spend a little bit more money if they knew what were in these different hub communities.
So who needs to spend that money to get those signs there? Is that a government role?
It would be wonderful, but I don't think we really know, because we have not been able to crack that nut.
So this has nothing to do with Cayuga County. I happened to have to go to a fundraiser in Onondaga County. It was a winery where they were presenting a check to my other job, my real job, and I could not find this winery to say. I had to stop at 2 gas stations, and so while it was kept going in my GPS, and part of it was the winery didn't have great signage when I got to the front entrance. It didn't look like it. So I guess that's my question: is it incumbent upon the business to make sure that they're well signed, but it's got to be more than Burma Shave signs that say, 5 miles down this cornfield, turn right.
It really does.
I think so, and it's because it's well, with the plan that we have put together, it's really about cohesiveness. It's really about the county saying these are important places, come to this place, and this is, and so when you see the shape of the sign, you know that you're going in the correct direction.
So I'm surprised. I happened to go up to Fairhaven State Park last month, and I was surprised at how few signs there were to get to a state park. Forget if you're trying to advertise the cookies up there, which are my favorite,
yes,
or,
they are.
or things like that. If you can't get the state of New York to advertise where they are, I just think it becomes an overall challenge.
It is.
But there are other trails that you've had real success on. Tell me about Sweet Treat.
So Sweet Treat, that has been a big success from a couple of different aspects. Public relations is probably one of the biggest ones, because what's different about our Sweet Treat Trail is all based on local. So we were named one of the best food trails in the United States by USA Today. That was pretty cool for Cayuga County to get that.
You brought me a jar of honey here.
Yeah, you're probably sorry we didn't do that one today. And then the New York State Travel Industry Association gave us a statewide recognition for cultural heritage, because you learn about culture from food. Bus tours love it. They love going to the wineries, but you know, how many can you go to? It's nice to intersperse it with a little bit of food.
Right.
And that's one of the places where I met some amazing people. It really connected tourism with agriculture.
So Sweet Treat, while you may have unveiled it 6 years ago?
It's
still going strong.
Oh yes.
It's still part of your...
19 members.
Okay.
You know, we've had some people transition off, some come on. Some it's a good fit for, and some not so good, but the core has stayed the same.
So do you think the community, forget government leaders because they're their own species, literally. Do you think the general public in the community understands the role of tourism in the local economy?
I think it's gotten better.
It is getting better. It's difficult for people not in the business to get the full scope of it. It truly is. But I think that with Meigs Education, she truly has done a great deal to get it out to the public. You know, she always is available to speak on the radio with you. I mean, she's done a lot as an advocate, and to truly get the word out that it's important.
Any low points in the 21 years?
Well, of course, when there was the whole economic downturn for the country, it was for us too. So
it would have also hit your revenue stream.
Absolutely. You know, tourism doesn't work in isolation. We're part of the whole global economy, and you know, shifts happen, and we just have to be prepared for that. And we always put a little aside for a rainy day, so that was a low point for us.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask also, you were very supportive of the downtown theater. Do you think that was a missed opportunity for, not necessarily the site, forget the site issue, but the whole thing with the Musical Theater Festival of creating another downtown site?
We actually tested that in one of these studies we did, and it really would have had potential. So that is a disappointment. You and I both spent a lot of time on that. And it came to fruition in a way. There is a musical theater festival with more than one venue, but I think it would have been a positive if that theater had gotten built.
What do you think the biggest challenge for tourism, looking out the next 10 years? You'll be a consultant then. You'll show up where you want to.
Exactly.
What do you think the biggest challenge, besides wayfinding?
Oh, yeah, right. For Cayuga County, I mean, we always have to remember that, you know, we are in friendly competition with everyone else in the Finger Lakes, and then we're in competition with everybody in the world. We have to keep changing how we do things. You know, for instance, the museums. People don't just go to a museum now and look at things. That you have to be interactive and make it fun. So we still have to grow everything that we do here. We have wonderful attractions. That's not it. We're in a beautiful place, but the way we interpret them to the visitor, we have to keep moving forward with that.
The other item that always seems to be an issue is transportation. So with, even though we have Uber and Lyft that have been allowed in the state of New York, is transportation still a big challenge for you?
Yes, and I think everyone in the Finger Lakes, other than the main urban centers of Rochester and Syracuse, maybe Ithaca, would say the same thing.
Because they have airports.
They have airports, train.
So my question is, how do you get from, you land at Hancock, or you land in Rochester, and you want to show up at the Seward House, how do you do it?
It's difficult. You either rent a car, you get Uber, or you can get yourself over to the transportation center and you can take a bus, which most people don't want to do. Right. So it's a challenge. I'm sure in the hotel business you find that with conferences.
Many rental cars in our parking lot.
Do we have enough? One of the items I remember sitting in a meeting with you 12 years ago, there was not enough new stock of hotel rooms. A lot of it had been built prior to 1990, if I remember. That was
that was in the report. You're right.
Do we have enough hotel beds now?
Well, the Hilton Garden Inn definitely changed that. So now we have modern hotels in the city, which is something that was identified by Randall and then Young Strategies. I think the one place that we're now leaking out business is a medium-priced hotel on the water. I was going to say on the lakes. If I remember being up at the Point, that was one of the items. Public art was another piece, but there were other in there. Is there an opportunity, local tourism-wise, that we have missed or not been able to take advantage of yet? Well, our waterfront is probably the main one, yes, because we do have beautiful high-end property down in Aurora, at the Inns of Aurora. But if a motor coach wants to come in, they're not going to stay at the Inns of Aurora. They're going to the Ramada. They may not have enough rooms on top. They might not have enough rooms, and they won't pay that rate. Okay. The Ramada in Geneva is, we know, taking business away from us. For sure. The National Park Service is now here. I know you have fought very hard for many years to get the National Park Service to do Harriet Tubman. What do you think the long-term impact, not necessarily for Harriet Tubman, but for tourism efforts locally? Does it give you an imprimatur? Does it give you a justification? Does it give you another thing to sell? It does, and I can't. This year, almost every press tour that has come through, they request Tubman. We're not selling it to them; they know about it and they're requesting it. It's really been, and having the park rangers there they did an amazing job. Reverend Carter, of course, is great, but there's only one of him. Right. So, in fact, we're doing a new lure piece. Before I leave, I'm getting it done. And I talked to a consultant about it. He goes, you got to have your purple cow on this lure piece. And Harriet Tubman's our purple cow. Nobody else has this Harriet Tubman site. Purple cow being a generic term for something different that nobody else has. And that is not why you dress the way you do. No. So I told you at the beginning, we had two guests last week who showed up in red. So I'm really interested in what the Perform for Purpose guys are going to show up with on Thursday. I know we're out of time, but I want to give one quick item on this. Your office will now be moving to the new visitor center. Yes. When will that occur? We were just talking about that somewhere between November and December. Right. So one of the questions I have there, and this is kind of the final question I want to talk about, is your job is to promote Cayuga County. The visitor center has a more global reach. How's that going to work? Or are you not there yet to figure that out? It will be a challenge. It will be, but not a bad challenge at all. It's going to be interesting to watch how it all truly unfolds. But you do see the local visitor center helping local tourism. Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Definitely. I think it'll be like an orientation spot that then people will go out to other places. So would you also see, well, I guess from this perspective, have you been involved in having part of the discussion about design and programming of what will go in there? Is your office, or is this mainly a state-driven? I'd say that part's pretty state-driven. You know, we have attended a lot of meetings, but the final say is really state and the city, of course. Okay. And your operations will evolve once you're in that location? Yes, well, we'll be tenants there. We won't be running the visitor information part. That'll be a function of the bid. Okay. But anything we can do to help with training and orientation, we are more than happy to do. Oh, we want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for talking to us about your impending retirement. Thank you. We hope you'll be back in the studio at some point. We want to thank Meg VANEK, the Executive Director of the local tourism office, as well as her board chair, Jessica CANTU of the Hilton Garden, for joining us to talk about not only tourism overall, but what Meg VANEK will be finishing off through the rest of the year. We'll be back on Thursday with Inside Government with the Business Improvement District's Stephanie DeVito. She'll give us an update on what's going on downtown, and we'll be talking about the BID's involvement with the new visitor center.
That will take up a lot of our time in the next couple of months. On Beyond the Front Page, we are delighted that we will have Jim Van Arsdale and 3 of his members of Perform for Purpose group here to talk about their group. And starting next week through the end of October, we hope to bring you a series of candidate forums co-sponsored by the Citizen. On Tuesday the 9th, the race to replace Assemblyman Bob Oakes with Democrat Scott Cummage as well as Republican Brian Manklow, hopefully I've said them right, as well as next Thursday we'll have a forum for the 51st Senate District between 2 names I can say much easier, James Seward and Joyce St. George, Jim Seward being the incumbent. Before we go though, if you have questions for Inside Government or Beyond the Front Page, not the forums, those are all done by the Citizen, you can send them to us at cozguytho@aol.com or Inside Government, 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. I want to thank you for watching. We hope you have a good night, have a great tomorrow, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.